overseeing the schoolboy programme as well, which ranges from 13s to the 16s and 17s. I train every morning at the training ground with the 18s, and I'm here 3 nights a week, overseeing 13s, 14s, 15s and 16s. At the minute we're looking at 16s and trying to determine which ones will then get scholarships to be full-time next year. In the mornings it's with us really, with myself and Andy Edwards, who is the academy director. We focus on high intensity really, so everything we do is high intensity, whether it be a passing drill or possession or just a five-a-side. We just look for real intensity. Obviously with that comes technical aspects, tactical aspects, but I think the basics we really look for is people are at it, working hard. We want them to finish their training session, whether they're 18s in the mornings or the under 14s here on a Wednesday night, just dripping with sweat, knowing that they've really pushed themselves to the limit, and then in amongst that you're throwing in loads of technical and tactical detail as you go along. There's not a specific type of play you look. I mean, if you look at the real 11s, 9s, 10s, 11s, you're looking at real technical aspects, but you're not ignoring the lad who's maybe not so good technically, but can tackle, can head. There's so many aspects. I think a lot of academies get bogged down in nowadays. It's very much more technical. They almost sort of forget about the lad who might be big for his age, but will grow up to be a big centre half, like John Terry or something, where they're all looking for the Messis, where we try and get the balance and go for every potential Messi. Hopefully, there is a John Terry or a Rio Ferdinand big centre half. So we don't really look for anything in particular. It is a bit of a cop-out. You just look for a good player, someone who you could think you've got to try in your head to have a crystal ball and say, well, okay, in 8 years, in 10 years, could you see him in the first team bringing something to the table? And if the answer is yes, then you obviously stick with them and try and improve what they've got, as well as try and add new things to the game, which maybe they're not so good at. But it's definitely not one specific type of player we look for. The whole academy starts at under 9s and it goes up to obviously under 16s, and then they go full time with the youth team after that. It is a certain aspect of technical ability. As much as I've just said about it's all about technical. If someone literally can't control a ball or can dribble 5 yards, and there's no aspect of football, unfortunately it's a no-no. But I think because they're so small, you don't know they're physically going to develop. You are looking for technical aspects, but you're also looking for, even at under 9 level, tactical awareness of a team. I think at under 9s you play 6 or 7 aside, but you still want to an understanding of the shape and have a reaction to losing the ball. I think that even with the real tiny ones, a lot of other academies, without naming names, they really focus on everything with the ball. What we're trying to do here now is focus on, you've lost the ball, how you're going to work for the team, how you're going to get some shape, which might sound a bit advanced from 8 or 9-year-old, but there's ways that our young coaches who are really good at getting those messages across without sort of boring them with tactical phrases and cliches. And I think by the age of 14, definitely under 15s, you're recognising what Dean brings to the table, for example, what you're good at, what are your strengths, let's work with them. You're not trying to discover new parts of your game. We're thinking, well, there's only a couple of years left before we maybe offer you a scholarship. You've got to stick with the position, you've got to try and stick with your strengths and identify your weaknesses, as opposed to keep discovering you. By then, if we haven't done our job, if we haven't really worked out what you're good at, what you're going to be good at, hopefully. So we're at that age, it is tactical. We're really looking at how the players can fit into a system, into a team shape. But at the same time, you're still that crystal ball one, thinking, okay, 2-3 years, could you see him training with the first team? If it's a no, then we're trying to be a bit more ruthless with our decisions. And if it's a yes, then you're obviously kind of keep pushing and working with you, making you better. Off the pitch, first of all, I mean, it is very cliche, live and breathe football and be professional, but it does, it's no coincidence that the ones who usually come through the system and get through, even the ones with a bit of edge or a little bit of a chip on the shoulder, they have deep down got that professionalism when they will eat right the night before, even 15 months, they will go to bed early, they will sacrifice going to house parties with their mates at 15, 16s to really get a good night's sleep before a big game at Charlton the next day. They will, your averages show they do that. So the first thing would be off the pitch, try and live as much like professional as you can without losing your childhood. You know, don't just live and breathe it too much, but you've got to sort of have the dedication. In terms of the actual stuff with the ball, I think it is the fitness one in terms of you've got to push yourself as far as you can go. I think especially nowadays, I think when we play, you can really get away with maybe being 60-70% of your fitness peak. I think nowadays in the League 2 level, you've got to be around the 90% mark what you can be, knowing that when you get to 17, 18, 19, you can really go into fifth gear and be the best you can be physically. And then the final thing I would say was that obviously with the help of the coaches, whatever you're good at, can you improve that? So obviously we get limited time with them on the Astro with the schoolboys, but with the scholars especially, can they, if they're a striker, can they go out 20 minutes before training, bag the balls and practice finishing? So it is the off the pitch one, it's the fitness one, and it's also what you think your position will be, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Can you work at your game? So it's that solo practice. Well, we've got a really good scouting system now. We've got Miguel D'Souza's ex-pro. He's our head of recruitment, and he's done a great job since he got the job a year or two ago. He's got a team of scouts who work beneath him who go out, especially in the London area. I don't think they have a day off. They're out watching games every day, school games, district games, Sunday league games. And they will quite simply see the best players and players they think are good to come and step in and train with us. Then they get invited in. So I mean, usually at any one time, each age group's got at least 1 or 2 trialists in. So at that time, we look at can they integrate with the group socially, what they like as lads. That's a big thing. Is the training too much for them? Is it going to be too much of a gap to make up in a small space of time? And we weigh all those things out, but more times than not, they're not a million miles off. It's usually the initial 2 weeks, and then I'm not sure about the logistics of it. I won't say anything out of town. I think there's a 6 weeks thing they sign, which means they have to be with us for 6 weeks, and no other club can come and take them during that trial period. But initially, lots of them just come in for initial, see how you go, and go from there. You've got to be prepared for a knockback. You've got to be prepared to be told some stuff you might not believe. You know, like you watch X Factor and people think they're the best singers in the world, and then Simon Cowell goes, "You know, good," and they can't believe it. Don't get me wrong. Arsenal, loads of clubs say to some players, "We don't think you're good enough." 2 weeks later, they're at another club and end up in a career. So it happens a lot. Clubs make mistakes. Football is about opinions. My advice to a player would be prepared for knockbacks, accept the knockbacks. Most clubs, especially nowadays, won't give you a knockback without any feedback. Whether the player thinks that's ball or not, they have to try and take all that feedback from experienced coaches and try and add that to their game. So be prepared for knockbacks, and if you don't get that knockback, obviously take the chance with both hands. But I think as a young lad, you go into a man's world where you've got to be so open-minded, it might not go to plan. You might think, "I played brilliant," and the coach goes, "I don't think you played very well." But you have to just keep focused, but take on any feedback you get. Don't think you know all the answers. And as I say, if you get knockbacks, and don't think, "Oh, that's it." You do have to keep going, but obviously any advice you give, you've got to take on board.